Mr. DJ.
If check this out, we got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors. It's your closing bell for January 3rd, Tuesday, 2023. Done a couple shows already today, checked in with all the colleagues, and kind of just a little somber of what, we usually are. I didn't come in blasting, the good afternoon, the good mornings, and the good evenings. Still someone in ICU battling for his life, Mr. Damar Hamlin, on what transpired last night with the Bengals and the Bills. The NFL has made a statement that the game will not be played this week. I don't know what they plan to do. Hearing rumblings of a no contest, and if it's a no contest, that would lead up to Saturday night's game with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Vegas Raiders. Kansas City wins, and they would become the number one seed. Doesn't matter what Buffalo does against the Patriots, and rumblings of Buffalo taking Sunday off and forfeiting, meaning the Patriots would be in. I mean, I don't have the answers right now. I also know in our lanes in the NFFC, the high-stakes fantasy lanes, that there were a lot of people with a lot of Buffalo Bills, with a lot of Bengals, with the potential to win $250,000 in the prime time in the online championships now that are sitting there. I was not one of them. I was sitting there with Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Gabe Davis. Now, I know if I was 30, 40 points out with those three, I would have been sitting there sweating profusely, because $250,000, in my eyes, that's a lot of money. I'm not one of these guys that can just shake it off the head. But when you look at it, there's someone in the hospital that literally died on the field that the paramedics and the staff there brought back to life. He does have a pulse. And we're all praying for him. That's all I care about at this point. I'm here with Riley today to tell you what's going on in the sports market, where the numbers are moving, and if anyone is wagering tonight, then so be it. The ECSI VIPs went 0-2 last night. We took a swing with a 2-12 team versus Army, boxed the wire. Army rolled Lafayette. And we had Colorado team total over 3.5 in hockey. You score 25 seconds and you're feeling good about yourself. Well, stuck on stupid for 2 periods, and they got to 2, and that was it. But enough of me. Let's bring in my co-host of the closing bell, the one and only Mr. Riley Magnuson. Afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, my friend. Perfectly placed by you on all your shows today. It has been a weird day, especially when we're talking about NFL and a somber day, and it's tough to move forward and talk about this weekend, especially like you said, with all the question marks that are still there. So, I'm here willing to talk about anything they want. For anyone that's kind of taking the day off, so to speak, or taking the day to just talk about the situation, I totally understand, man. And for anyone else that's trying to move forward and let people take their mind off it, I understand that too. So, but obviously there's a tone that has to be brought to it, and you've done a great job today as well. So, but like you said, there's NBA games tonight. There's college basketball games tonight. I'm not the NHL guy. I assume there's NHL games tonight as well. There's things to be talked about, obviously, and but yeah, it is tough. As far as the situation, it was interesting. Obviously, week by week, whatever the narrative is and whatever the topic is, a lot of people have positive and negative things to say about Aaron Rodgers going on Pat McAfee's show today. I thought it was really interesting to hear someone who's currently in the league, one of the faces of the league, talk about the situation. So if you haven't, if you wanted that perspective, I thought it was, the first 10, 20 minutes of that interview, it was an interesting conversation as far as how teams on the complete outside of that situation are dealing with it today, tomorrow, going forward here. So, I'm ready to move on. I'm hoping for the best news. I personally, obviously, as a Packers fan, I was as jacked as can possibly be for this upcoming week. As it stands right now, I've got, along with my dad and brother, we've got tickets for Sunday night's game at Lambeau. So I am, obviously hoping things go positively, and I'd be shocked to see things, move around to that measure as far as this upcoming Sunday for, especially that side of things. So I'm, still jacked as far as that is concerned. Interesting to see if it matters for both ways, if the Lions are trying to play spoiler or not. We will know by that point at that night. But obviously, Lambeau Field's going to be a madhouse one way or another Sunday night. So I can't wait for Sunday night, my friend.
No, I had a million DMs, texts, phone calls, emails. What's going on? What do you think? And my initial thought process was the NFL played Wednesday night, played that game, and then moved the two Sunday games, the Patriots and the Bills, and the Ravens and the Bengals, to Monday night. So it would have been, instead of a Sunday, Thursday, they would have been playing Wednesday and Monday.
Yeah.
Then someone says, well, dummy, the college championship game is on Monday and they don't want to compete against that. So then I said, well, move it to Tuesday. Then Ron came on, and Ron brought up an interesting scenario that it's business as usual on Sunday, and that they moved the playoffs back a week, and they headlined that game, say, the following Saturday. That would be the only game in town for the week, and then the playoffs move on the following week, which is another interesting scenario. I'm hearing that it's going to be a no contest, which means, again, Saturday, Kansas City wins. They're the number one seed against Vegas. Right. And the funny thing is, you and I both knows what will happen there is that the Raiders will pick off Kansas City because that's justice and karma, and then business as usual on Sunday.
Yeah, no, I'm really interested to see how it proceeds, because obviously you mentioned it. I mean, if we're talking that far ahead, as far as, it wouldn't shock me if the Bills forfeit both of these games, or, maybe not forfeit the first one, but forfeit the Patriots games. But, the other two teams that pertains to that are sitting on the outside, they're obviously, do they accept that? I don't know. And do they have a choice of accepting that? I don't know. So, obviously a lot to be said. Hopefully, positive things come out here and as soon as possible, and we can move on from it. But obviously there's a lot to be boxes to be checked still over the coming days and in the next week or so here. But you mentioning the Monday night aspect, because that's what my dad and I were talking about it today as well, as far as what they could possibly do, and I totally forgot that Monday night is the championship game in the college football. Of course they're not going to do that. So there's a lot of questions to be answered here.
On our Sunday action parlay, we had Missouri State to win outright against the Drake, and they did. We had them plus the 3.5, plus the 130 money line. We didn't get cute. We had your Packers money line, which was box to wire. And then, of course, the last game was a hockey game over 6.5 that scored 47 seconds into the game, and we couldn't get that in. But we had an amazing week. We had Envelope Monday 5 out of the last 6 weeks of 2020, and the 1 week that we didn't have Envelope Monday was a wash. We broke even that week. We turned the page. So I got to give you the stage here. We talked weeks ago. We'll get to the bye week, and he kind of pulling a Tom Brady here. Hey, the season's not over, guys. Until we're mathematically eliminated, let's play out the string. Well, all of a sudden you win a game in Chicago. You start to put together a couple wins. In comes the emergence of A.J. Dillon, the reemergence of Christian Watson, the defense playing a lot better. You put it all together on Sunday.
Yeah, and I mentioned it last week, I think. MVP Keyshawn Nixon finally takes one to the house on Sunday. I mean, that guy has along with but Rich Bisaccia coming in from the Raiders last year. The special teams, I told you, the team obviously has regressed from the last 2 seasons, but last year's special teams unit was certainly the worst, and the Packers have always, in my lifetime, especially the last decade, had bad special teams. Last year was the worst that I've ever seen it for Packers, and maybe it's because I watched it so close. I'd never seen a special teams that bad in my entire life, and it was a huge reason, for many different factors. Offense wasn't good, but huge reason why they lose that playoff game against the Niners last year as well. The blocked punt. So to get that to even now, what it was, even maybe the 20th best special teams unit was a huge step up this year. But now to have this game-changing, whether he's taking it to the house or not, the field position in an offense that's still trying to, up until this point, still trying to get its, firing on all cylinders. It's been better, obviously, but I think the optimistic point would be right there is that the offense maybe still has another step to go. Maybe you would say that as far as the cohesiveness of everyone working together and the health of Christian Watson as well. He was banged up a couple weeks ago. So, the defense, the confidence that the defense is playing with, I think, is the biggest thing here. And then, if we're fortunate enough to win on Sunday, does that travel on the road is definitely the question there against the best teams in the league. A few teams that have had their way with us either this year or in the past, obviously, with the 49ers. One way or another. So interested to see how that plays out. Obviously, I told you Rashawn Gary, the absence of him, if he was still in there on top, throw him back into this defense, then things would be pretty scary as far as, facing this defense. So I think as long as that confidence level stays up and the way the secondary is playing, then, things are definitely going to trend upwards. Jair Alexander actually, putting a ton of attention onto a leading receiver. He wasn't really allowed to do that for a lot of the points this season, and I think it was over 60% of the time he was, directly matched up, or for the most part matched up directly with Justin Jefferson, and obviously was a huge factor in slowing him down. So the optimism level is certainly there, and part of it, as far as with the potential of making a run, is that the rest of the NFC, one way or another, is not peaking at the right time. As far as maybe the Niners are. Obviously, the Niners were a couple weeks ago, and now defense didn't play well the other day. But you still have Brock Purdy, and I heard someone that I respect talk about a few weeks ago. As the weeks progress, the playbook on him is going to come out more and more, and could have a higher chance of slowing him down and being the reason they lose some games. Obviously, he hasn't quite been that so far, but that would be the optimism level, obviously, if you're the Packers. The Eagles, obviously, no Jalen Hurts. They're not playing their best. How healthy is he when he comes back? The Vikings, obviously, everyone has called them the fraud words all season long. That's who, if the Packers are able to get in, that's who you would love to play in that first round once again here. And then hopefully, if the Packers are the 7th seed and they win their first game, then they're absolutely going to, I guess assuming the Eagles don't lose again, they're going to Philly, and then you just hope that you're, instead of getting the Niners at the, a hot Niners team, you're getting somebody else at that point. That would be the playbook for optimism there as far as making a run there. So the optimism levels are certainly there. Like I said, to the point where my dad, and my brothers, we're watching the Washington game, and the game is starting to go the Browns' way, and we're like, do we buy these tickets? Do we buy these tickets? And the answer was a resounding yes. So I'm excited to be there this upcoming Sunday. I've been there for a couple big games and never been there for a Sunday night football game, though. So I am going to be jacked to be there. And then, the last thing I'll say as far as optimism level is that Rodgers has been better these last few weeks, but I think him going to another level now, and the last couple of years, you could argue, whether it's the cold or just not getting hot at the right time, he hasn't been playing his best at the right time. I'd still say, unless what we've seen is just what he is now, there's some shred of optimism that you could say is if Rodgers gets, scorching hot and his thumb continues to heal better, then obviously this Packers team is even more dangerous than they've let on, because the last few weeks he's been making some fantastic throws, and the other day's case, I think it was the first time where there really wasn't any head-scratching throws. But even in that Dolphins game, there was some fantastic throws, and there was a few where I was like, man, what the hell was he looking at, or what the hell happened with his thumb or something on that one. And so the optimism level again is if he can continue to get healthy or get hot at the right time, then this is a really dangerous team. But I think defensively, if they can keep it, if they fold back into what they were a few weeks ago, then that, obviously is a huge, huge issue. And, the offense needs to be playing at the highest level. So if they're playing complementary football like this, I've said it all season long. They're a team that can lose to anybody and can beat anybody. So, obviously that needs to continue to string together for more than just these 4 or 5 games that we've seen. But unlike the team that did it, ran the table for 6 games and then lost to Atlanta, I would say this team just top to bottom is a lot better than that team. Maybe that offense you would say is, better than this offense, but as a team, top to bottom defense and everything, this team is just better than that team. That defense was actually pretty horrendous and had some positive matchups down the line for their run the table season there. So, I think I was more optimistic than a lot of Packers fans and Packers reporters. I certainly wasn't 4-8. I was definitely on here. Basically closing the book. But I think at 5-8, I was telling you, if you want to call me crazy for thinking the Packers can make a run, that's the hard part. You can call me crazy, but I will stand by what I said, and it's coming to fruition that somebody is going to be a 9-win team getting this last spot in the NFC. And if the Packers go on a run, it'll be them, and obviously here we are. But, I remember, I think it was 5-8, I said, you can call me crazy for thinking the Packers are going to be that team if you want. But because of Washington's schedule and Seattle's schedule and the way they were trending, I was pretty adamant that somebody was going to be a 9-win team getting that 7th spot. And, it's either going to be the Packers, Lions, or Seahawks this upcoming week. So I'm excited to see how it goes. I honestly don't know, as someone going into this game, I don't know if I'd rather have it be – I don't know if I'd rather the Seahawks win and have the Lions be out of contention by the time game time comes, because even a Lions team trying to play spoiler feels dangerous to me, or if I'd rather it have Packers and Lions, winner goes to the playoffs situation for that game. I don't know what I'd rather have for Sunday night there.
Well, it's funny because there's a lot of people on social media bitching and moaning for the fact that it's unfair. For the fact that they will know the outcome of the Seattle game. And it's funny, I have a good friend that needs Seattle to lose for a future. And then I brought on Ron that says a Lion team that is out of it is more dangerous than them fighting to get in, because Ron was telling me he loves the over in that game if the Lions are out, because they will pull all the stops to become that spoiler.
Yeah. Oh, especially to the it would be against anybody, especially to the Packers. And I mean, you already got Dan Campbell going for it, 4th and down at his own 20. He's going to be, if he's out of it and playing nothing to lose, he's going to be doing 4th and 10 from his own 10 fake punt. Who knows, man? So no, that is one of the most dangerous spoiler teams with Dan Campbell and the way he coaches in the entire league, in my opinion. So whether it's for that or just for the appeal of having basically a playoff game at Lambeau Field, I don't know what I'd rather have. But yeah, the Lions being a dangerous spoiler team is definitely in my mind for sure.
Didn't see it. Give us the quick version of what Mr. Rogers said the first 20 minutes with Pat.
Oh, no, it wasn't anything too crazy. Like I said, if you wanted that perspective, just go ahead and look at it. It really him just echoing, the last 18 hours or so have been very somber and you as an NFL player, he and everyone else kind of realizing their own mortality to some degree. And so, whether that's, if you're an NFL team taking a day today or tomorrow, I don't know what their scheduling is, but taking a day or tomorrow to talk about it as a group and if anyone's, feeling a certain type of way about it, I think was important. And then the question of at the end of it is, despite all of this, how are you feeling going into Sunday night? And he said, still kind of somberly, but at the end of the day, they'll be ready for Sunday Night Football. So, and I think a lot of teams in the league that have something to play for are probably still have that level of drive and focus that they'll be there for that. But I think today and tomorrow, it's especially as we don't know what's going on, probably still some weird transition periods as far as NFL locker rooms are concerned this week right now.
Well, you and your dad could have called me. If you remember on the show, I told you the Browns were going to win that game. You could have, saved yourself some anxiety. And there was no doubt the Browns were beating the Commanders there.
Well, Carson Wentz, no, I know. We were talking about it for a while. We've been talking about going to a handful of games. So I'm excited to be able to go to this one, and it was a tough experience. It was 10-10 or whatever it was. I think Washington had the lead for a minute. So Watson was fantastic in the second half there, but that first half was a little interesting. But no, I had plenty of confidence as well. It was just the fear of them not being able to pull it off, and now staring at Dallas, and obviously it ended up. You and I were kind of interested in the Saints being a little bit live, and that one obviously came to fruition as well. So even if they needed some help this week, they still would have Washington playing a Dallas team that's still playing for something. So I'm glad that we don't have to worry about anything about that, and we just have one more game to take care of business and get into the dance. So I'm going to be excited for it.
So I'm sitting here yesterday thinking of you, and I am pissed, and I'm still seething right now. Left Rutgers on the desk, and I thought the number was low.
Yep.
8, and it went to 8.5. Public took it to 9. You can smell these numbers a mile away. It wasn't at the rack. It was at Purdue. This is an undefeated number 1 team. The numbers smelled to high heaven. Rutgers gets out early. Purdue fights claws, but comes up short. Of course, the same week, that UConn, and I talked about UConn. I did not like that spot against Xavier. And I can tell you right now, I'm scared as hell tomorrow. They travel to Providence, and Providence all of a sudden is hot as hell. And then we got Creighton on Saturday. Bring us your thoughts on Rutgers taking care of Purdue yesterday.
No, I'm with you. I left that on the desk, especially outside of the rack. If that was an 8.5 at the rack, you'd be, okay, I can see why that's as low as it is. It's say we're at the rack, but at Purdue, still as the number 1 team, that one absolutely smelled 65-64, so a lower scoring affair there. Go figure, right around the total. Go figure there, but. No, I said even from the beginning, even when Purdue got hot, I think they are very, very good. Don't get me wrong. I think they're a top 10 team for sure. I didn't think they were that far and ahead, a number 1 team. I think they will probably have a little bit of regression here, and I think there's going to be 2-3 teams in the Big Ten that are vying for the regular season title and the 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament here. So still a lot to be played out. Obviously, we're just getting into January. As far as the weekend recap, you had your classic Maryland laying an egg spot there against Michigan, 81-46 or something like that. So that one was obviously ugly. Iowa losing again. They've got to go on a little bit of a run now. They're kind of they're obviously trending terribly with that loss to Eastern Illinois, and now I think it's 3 in a row with the Eastern loss, the Nebraska loss, and now the Penn State loss, which Penn State's not a bad loss by any means, but when you string those together, now you need to go on a run and have some, put some good wins on your resume to be a tournament team. They're going to be a team that's probably on the bubble for sure. And if they keep losing, they're just not going to be a tournament team. It's pretty plain and simple there. So Ohio State's still not getting enough love. They get the job done as well this weekend. But no, I think there's a couple games tonight. Not the most highly anticipated games, but I think this Saturday there's some really good Big Ten matchups that we should be able to talk about later in the week. But no, it's we're heading into the dog days of the Big Ten schedule. So this is one of my aside from March Madness itself. This is January, February conference schedules are some of my favorite times of the sports calendar.
And to UConn Husky fans, I will just tell you this. I talked about it with Riley earlier last week. I will reiterate this. Like he talked about Purdue, I'm saying the same thing with UConn. Good team can beat anyone in the country. Yeah. They can lose to a lot of teams. I thought they were in a bad spot New Year's Eve. I think they're in a tough spot tomorrow, Wednesday. They got home against Creighton, who they're supposed to beat, but is dangerous. And then I'm really scared the following, I think it's Wednesday, they travel to Marquette, who's got a tough game against St. John's here. So what I'll do is there's only 3 games in the NBA. I'll give you the NBA board. Then there's a big slate in college. Yeah. There's a game that I really like that I think you're going to know where I'm going. I think you're going to sniff this one out too. But take it away on the NBA.
All right, yeah, 3 in the NBA. I think there's 1 on NBA TV, so nothing. It's not like a TNT ESPN situation or anything like that. Milwaukee and Washington, though, is that's the game that's on NBA TV. 7.5 to 29.5 for Milwaukee. In Milwaukee, these 2 teams just played. What's today? The 3rd. They just played on Sunday. Washington is 2.5-point dogs. Also in Milwaukee, wins big by 23 points or something like that. Now you're giving the Bucks minus 7.5 at home against the same team. So I've always all season long been interested in the split aspect here. Milwaukee team in a big bounce back, looking to make a statement against a middle of the pack team. I can definitely buy into. Just wanted to make sure. I assume with it being at 7.5 that these guys will be in. I know there was some questionables as far as the big names of the Bucks, and yeah, Drew Holiday available, and Giannis also listed as available. So the 7.5, kind of indicated that to me as well. But I'd be going Milwaukee or nothing on that one. What about you?
I think the number's low.
Do
I
you
think
really?
they want you to
Okay.
take the Bucks. I mean, I see Giannis playing, Holiday playing, Middleton doubtful, Bradley Beal questionable. With the 7.5, I assume Bradley's going to play. I think it's low. Maybe I'm overselling here. I would prefer a 9.5, 10 number. My true number was 7.5 with the 228 and a hook. I got an 8 with the 230. What was the final score on Sunday?
It was 118 to 95 Wizards.
So that was an under. So I'm just gonna smell this one. I'll lean Wizards, but I'll come back with the over. So how's that?
No, I like the over, and I honestly, now the more you talk about it, I don't totally disagree with what you're saying there. The 9.5 would have been a better indication, I would say for sure as well. I think the thing that stopped me though was Washington only 5 in a row wins on a nice little win streak, but that 5-win win streak isn't when you're a middle of the pack team. It's still pretty under the radar, so. That was kind of what tripped me a little bit there, and the back-to-back or the two teams in a row spot. So I could see it with you. I'll back off of Bucks or nothing for sure there, and I'll say I think the Bucks do win though, and I like the over though, the 229.5 after that game though as well.
Don't tweet me at half when the Bucks are up 30 though. Okay?
yeah, definitely. The Bucks have been a team that sometimes you think it's a bad spot for them, and then they win by 30, 40 points. So I'm with 100%. What about Boston in OKC? You and I have talked about this OKC team a lot. A team that if you're assuming they'll roll over and die, they typically do the exact opposite to you. I think they've got a winning record straight up at home. I think 11-8 against the number at home. They've been pretty tough here. But Boston, obviously, after a little bit of a hiccup stretch there for a couple of weeks, have kind of gotten their feet back under them the last week or so and have been rattling off wins. Any concern in OKC tonight? Is this a scrappy spot, or I don't know. This one is tough for me. I would have liked kind of in the same vein that you're talking about with why if this was 7.5, I'd be definitely interested in OKC.
Yeah, I think the number's fair. I had an 8 with a 235.5. I'm seeing 8 with a 232. So people are buying into the under. I am seeing some ticket counts and money coming in on OKC. The Jekyll and Hyde Celtics, who have now shown their true colors, do struggle out west. Denver took care of them the other day. Probably should have had them on Sunday instead of the over in the hockey game. I respect the number. I'm going to call this a Celtic number, but I can see the under. I won't follow everyone going in on the under as well. For me, and I haven't been on the green all year, I think the Celtics win by double digits tonight.
Okay. No, like I said, I've been more adamant about the Thunder in a lot of different spots, and this wasn't all the bells and whistles for the Thunder quite. But it would not shock me at all if the Thunder even won this game. By any means here. Go ahead.
If I had an OKC, a +5, 5.5, I'd be all in on OKC today.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I'm 100% with you there. So, and then the other game, the third game, Sacramento is in Utah. Both these teams still kind of, Sacramento has been a little roller coaster after their hot start. They're still above 500, 19-16. Utah had looked like they were coming crashing down to earth, and they started winning again. Now they've lost 4 in a row. They've done a good job handling the Sacramento team. In the past, obviously, that's bad Sacramento teams and very good Utah teams, so maybe not much to devolve from that. 3.5 favorite spot here for the Jazz, 242.5 on the total. I'm going to lean towards the Jazz, but I am also going to lean towards about 200 points in this game. Or 300 points in this game, 200 on both sides is what I meant there. So nothing crazy, but I'll lean towards the Jazz on this one.
Well, it's funny. I see totals like this. I always say we got an NBA All-Star game. I
Yeah.
tell everyone watching and listening, grab your popcorn, your pom-poms. I take the over on these all day long. Again, first one to 125, 130 will probably win this game. I think it's a Sacramento number. I had a 2.5 for the 243.5. It's now the public taking it to 3.5. There is a 4 in 1 spot, or actually 2 spots now. For me, it would be slight lean Kings. Definitely, I like the over here.
All right. Yep. No, I'm with you on the over. I think they've played. Actually, they just played pretty recently. 125, 126. So that one went flying over in Sacramento. So I'm with you on the over. These guys have been scoring plenty. I think Colin Sexton might be out in this one. Aside from that, I think just about everyone's good to go. So that is it for the NBA, though, tonight. My Bulls had been looking better, but two losses back to back to the Cavs. Non-call that the NBA later said we should have gotten the call for some game-winning free throws 2 nights ago, and then Donovan Mitchell dropped 71 on us last night. So feeling better about the Bulls overall, but still in a bit of a question mark spot overall. So that is it for the NBA, unless you got something else to mention.
Nope, that's it.
All right. So moving over to college basketball, the first game of the night, 5:30 my time, 6:30 your time. You mentioned them, I think, a second ago, talking about UConn. A couple Big East games tonight, I believe. Marquette and St. John's is the first one up on Fox Sports 1. That one is at St. John's. Marquette has looked really solid. Both these teams at 11-4. But it's a little bit of a different 11-4, right? Marquette, I think, is top 25 per Ken Pom. St. John's is somewhere around 60. I had this earlier, but I lost my notes on this one. But Marquette, 4 out of the last 5, 4 solid wins for the most part here, then close loss to Providence. St. John's coming off 3 straight losses. Are you buying into a bounce-back spot for St. John's, or would you have respected them to be closer to being favored in this spot, or is this a spot where the plus money might be enticing people to St. John's?
2.5 for the 157. Now 2.5 for the 158. Gritty win for Marquette on Saturday against Nova. They come from behind to beat them 68-66. Now they got to go and travel to St. John's, losers of 3 in a row, and an exact opposite pace. This will be up and down Greyhounds. By the numbers, first one to 80 will probably win this game. Wouldn't be surprised to see someone get to 85 here. I really, on paper, love the St. John's team. But again, on the road at Nova, they lose by 15. At home to a real good Xavier team, they lose by 5. And we've talked the disrespect card about Seton Hall not getting it, and they win 88-66. I don't know if the Johnnies were peaking and they had this game circled. The sense of urgency has to be with St. John's. Has to be. The better team right now, obviously in form, is Marquette. So I guess what I would say is if you like the Johnnies, buy the hook, take them up to 3, sprinkle a little something on the money line, and pray, because this Marquette team is for real.
Yeah, no, I lean towards St. John's, but it's I'm staying away from it at the end of the day. It's a kind of clashing, tricky spot there, because watching Marquette, you're right, they are in form right now. That is the key word that you said, that they are in form right now. It's not just necessarily a hot stretch. They're just in form, playing really good basketball. And if they show up again tonight and do that, then they're probably going to win this game. So I lean with St. John's in the bounce-back spot in the urgency, 1-3, I think, in conference. A lot of teams that are, solid teams have put their, kind of with their backs against the wall like that have shown up these last week or two. But I'm going to stay away from it. But I'll lean towards the St. John's spot there. Switching over, we'll stay in the Big East. Like I said, only 2 games in the Big East. You mentioned them. Seton Hall at Creighton. A spot where Seton Hall has had a few of these on the road, about around 7, 8, 9 points. I think they failed to cover at Marquette as one of those, but I think 8.5 against Xavier, and then there was another one. I think it was at Rutgers, and they ended up winning that game outright, right? So are you buying into them here again as an 8.5-point dogs, or is this a statement for Creighton? They're starting to get rolling here.
Preseason favorites to win the Big East. Came out guns a-blazing. Then the tournaments did them wrong. A neutral loss to Arizona by 2. Then they lose at Texas by 5. So then comes the home loss to Nebraska, which I still can't fathom. They lose by 10 there. Then they go to Vegas. They lose to BYU by 3. They lose to Arizona State by 2. Now conference play. They go to Marquette and they get waxed by 11. So what do? They beat Butler by 22. They beat DePaul by 15. Here's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Something was just talking to me. I don't know what the hell
I
that
heard
was.
it too.
Wow, that was just. I think it's, you know what it is. It's the Apple Watch talking to me.
Oh yeah.
They got UConn at UConn on Saturday. So again, they need to win this game to win 3 in a row, to get to 3-1 in the Big East, to really make this UConn game mean something. And Ken Palm's got UConn winning by 11. So I will just say this: if UConn is favored by 11 on Saturday against Creighton, there ought to be an investigation, because there's no way in hell that number should be 7.5, 8.5 tops, not 11. I think it's a Creighton number. I do. I think it's spot on. I think they get to double digits. Could I see Seton Hall hanging around? Sure. Do I see them winning the game? I don't. I think Creighton wins by double digits here.
I think so too. You've got Seton Hall in a similar spot. I think they're also 1-3 in conference, so kind of back against the wall. But Creighton's just a better team. I guess my concern with Creighton is they beat 2 teams that probably peaked a little bit early, even for teams that aren't very good in DePaul and Butler, and both kind of coming down to earth. But maybe that's just what they needed to get themselves right after the stretch that you just laid out there. So I'm with you. I think it is a Creighton number, but the Seton Hall team, I always have a lot of respect to some of these underdogs in the Big East, the Seton Hall, St. John's. So wouldn't surprise me if Seton Hall made it a game. Wouldn't surprise me if Creighton won by 20, just like Seton Hall lost the other night. So let's see. There's some other. I think it was a good. It's a good MAC night as well. A lot of MAC games. A lot of power conference games here. One that I was interested in your thoughts on: Mississippi State and Tennessee. Tennessee AP number 8 team. Mississippi State, I believe, is unranked per the AP, but they only have 2 losses, both of them last 2 games. Was this did you feel like this was a statement number here, or is this against an 11-2 team, or is throwing records out the door? This is I don't know. This one was tricky for me. Did that feel like a statement for Tennessee or no?
Mississippi State's one of these teams that every time I lean to them, they're nowhere to be found. Yeah. Whether it's at home as a short dog against a Kentucky, a Tennessee, maybe Florida back in the day, I get egg on my face. This Tennessee team has been Jekyll and Hyde. Now, Mississippi State comes out of the gate 11-0.
Yeah.
If I'm looking for a signature win, they did beat Marquette by 3 on a neutral court. They did beat Utah by 3 on a neutral court. I can't take any stock in Nebraska, Omaha, Mississippi Valley State, even with Jerry Rice. They beat Minnesota on the road by 18, so that was a nice win there. Jackson State, Nicholas State, no, thank you. No. They lost to the Drake by 6 on a neutral court, and Alabama's good. They lost at home to Alabama by 11. Now in comes Tennessee. Tennessee's resume is pretty damn good. Don't forget, too, you got Purdue now that finally lost. So they lost game 2 against Colorado on a semi-home game by 12. I had that, too, of course, and we lose there. And their only other loss was to Arizona. They beat Maryland by 3. Austin Peay, no thanks. Mississippi, no thanks. Gun to the head, I had 11 with a 120. It's 9.5 with a 123. Tennessee gets it done by double digits. That's my guess.
Okay. That's where I was with you on that one. It was just a weird spot that I kind of feel it spot on to some degree, but I was leaning towards Tennessee, but I'm going to keep my money for that one. Heading to my neck of the woods, Big Ten, Nebraska, and Michigan State. Nebraska team that's just pulled off an upset against Iowa as 4.5-point dogs. They've got 2 wins in a row. They hung tight with Purdue. That was their best cover aside from that. Michigan State getting going to some degree. They haven't really played anybody the last couple of weeks though. Ended their ugly stretch of November games in early December with a nice win at Penn State, and now haven't really played anybody the last 3. This is kind of it's a tricky one. It wouldn't surprise me if Nebraska had a nice game. Looks like a lot of people public is in on Michigan State here. My gut tells me Michigan State's gonna puff out their chest and have a really nice night at home, but I don't know. This one still feels a little fishy to me. Nebraska as a single-digit dog still is a little concerning to me here.
Well, I think your eyes are spot on here in this regards. I had a 7 with a 130. Chris has now moved it to 6.5. That's the next move. Flat 7s across the board. That's always dangerous. That's a copy and paste number. Everyone doesn't know what to do with it. Now, we talked about this a few weeks ago, that hats off to the AD of Michigan State. That road game at Penn State was huge. Then they play Brown, Oakland, and Buffalo. So now in comes Nebraska, which we always used to say was a layup and a layup.
Yep.
Because after Nebraska, Saturday they're home against Michigan, so they could be peaking.
Yeah.
Then next week they go to Whiskey, to Illinois, and then on Monday they got Purdue at home.
Yep.
Okay. So does Tom have Izzo's army focused? Says, hey guys, we got to take care of business here before this death row stretch. Or in comes this Nebraska team who's sneaky. So I'm going to go on record. I lean the dog here.
Okay. I with you, and I think the Nebraska beating Iowa to me feels like that should have been maybe we shouldn't take this team. So if Nebraska had came in and lost, then I would have 100% been in on it. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'll go against you, and I'll lean towards Michigan State by 10 points, but this Nebraska team is scrappy. It would not surprise me if they played some really nice defense in this one and held Michigan State down and gave them a tough loss or a tough cover loss, whatever you want to call it. But I'll lean towards Michigan State, but I'm not putting my money on it.
And the fact what got me here was 2 things: that Creighton win, number 1. Yeah. Number 2, we had Nebraska against Iowa, and they didn't just beat them; they boat raced them.
Yeah,
and this team is sneaky. Maybe I'm not saying they're going to win the Big Ten. I'm not saying that they're going to make the dance. Okay, they're 8-6. Their statement wins a bad Florida State team, a bad BC team. The Creighton and Iowa woke me up. Listen, they lost by 16 to Indiana. They had that Purdue game. That was the game. They had that. We talked about that number of 8. We said that they were the right side there. And then they lose to 15 to K-State. So I like the dog here. I'm not going to play it, but I lean the dog here.
Yeah. No, I've told this Nebraska team is a team that sometimes they'll be right around these dog spots, and sometimes they'll win, they look like a team that's going to fight every single time, and then the next night it's a very similar situation, or the next situation they lose by 30. So nothing would really surprise me in this one, but I will on record go against you and lean towards Michigan State, but I can accept the loss on that one. Notre Dame and Boston College. Notre Dame has been a Jekyll and Hyde team, that is for sure. They are, aside from a win against Jacksonville this month, they are pretty cold against Power 5 teams, though. But obviously, Boston College is 7-7, not doing too much better. Got the nice win against Virginia Tech and took down Stonehill. That's as a 12.5-point favorite. They only won by 7 there. So, let's see. Boston College plus 2.5 at home, 130.5. Let's see. I don't know. Is that interesting to the under for you, or is that one feel spot on the total there?
I think the total spot on. Ken Palm has it at 131, 66, 65. Notre Dame 110, BC at a 171. This was the one game. I'm looking at outside looking in. We've played BC once this year, and let me tell you exactly where it was. La 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 la. Where was it? Where was it? Where was it? It was the Wyoming game. We caught them in the Wyoming game. They won by 11. I think now I'm leaning on you on this one. This
Okay.
one smells to holy hell to me. I got a Notre Dame team. I know record wise is 8-6. They're 0-3 in conference. BC is 1-2. I thought this was a BC number to holy hell,
I
but
agree.
I'm looking
I
at this.
agree.
I mean, this is a must win. Notre Dame cannot go to 0-4. So who have they lost to in conference? They lost to Syracuse by 1 at home. They lost to Florida State.
And I had
and
them
they
against
just
Syracuse, but they did lose that game. They were just it was just an inflated number on the spread on that one.
That's right. We had Notre Dame in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And I had them this past weekend against Miami, but that was an ugly spot. That was just a bad pick by me there.
They got North Carolina on Saturday, and then they got Georgia Tech, and they're at it. Wow. I woke up this morning and I had BC circled here. I had BC buying the hook to 3. Have them actually. Let me go over here for 1 second. Let me see what happened on the money line here.
I was with you on this one for sure.
BC. Circus got Notre Dame opened at 135, now 135. BC plus 115. I'm going to go on record. I like BC plus 3, and I like them plus the 115 on the money line.
I like it. I see 78% of bets, 74% of bets, 78% of money on the spread of Notre Dame, and the money line is pretty similar on that one. My issue is just personally ever since Notre Dame has gotten out of this, wherever they were for 5-6 years of being a perennial, top 25 team to some degree. The last 3-4 years they haven't been that. And they've just been a Jekyll and Hyde for me, where it's a spot where I'm going against them, and then they roll up, and as a bad shooting team, they shoot 50-60% from 3 and drain me when I bet against them, and then the other way around, you think they're due for a huge offensive night or a great defensive night, and then they're terrible. But I'm with you 100% on this one. It's just these two teams are tough to predict at times. Sometimes they rise to the occasion, sometimes they don't. But you and I are agreeing on this one. I woke up and the BC was what I thought for sure on this one.
I agree. And I'm going to stick to that. I had that on the desk all day because I'm looking more and more into this college slate, and there's a couple games that the numbers are intriguing and the movement's kind of comical at a couple spots today.
Yep, and just looking back, that one must have been an overtime game. 99-95 in February last year at Boston College, though. Boston College beat them by 16 in December last year. So, no, I'm with you. I'm leaning on Boston College as well. Other ACC game, I don't know if this is only 2 games or not. Syracuse and Louisville. Louisville single-digit dog, 9.5. Is this the night that they finally wake up and do something here? 2 wins on the season, Western Kentucky and Florida A&M. They've lost 3 in a row since then. Lipscomb, NC State, they covered 18. Kentucky, they lose by 23 and apparently covered 23.5. Is this finally a spot where Louisville either wins or continues a nice little covering streak here, or is this just a hard stay away between these two teams?
269 Ken Palm, 89 for Syracuse. I look at the Syracuse team. They lose to Colgate, so then they win 2 in a row. So they've won. They're 3-1. They lose to the Johnnies. They lose to Bryant, which can't happen. And then they lose to your Illinois squad by 29, which can't happen. Not they can't lose to
Yeah,
Illinois,
yeah, yeah.
but you can't lose by 29. They beat Notre Dame by 1. Then here comes this juggernaut schedule: Oakland, Georgetown without Patrick Ewing, Monmouth, who's probably one of the worst teams in play this year, who's at 353, and they beat them by 15.
Yep.
Cornell by 15. They lose to Pitt by 2, and then they just beat BC by 14. So I woke up this morning and I thought this number was low. I thought it was low. That again, like Purdue at 8, which was at home against Rutgers. The public took it to 9. First thing anyone does is when they wake up in the morning, who's Louisville playing and how do I bet against them? The public has now moved that to 9. To me, it's a Louisville or nothing. I think it's low. I think Louisville will cover. Do I think they're going to win? No, but if I'm betting Louisville tonight plus 9, I'm going to sprinkle a little something with them on the money line as well.
It's a tough pill to swallow with the 2-12 team that's lost to some of the teams that you laid out there and we laid out there. But this Syracuse team, it's 9-5 is honestly part of it is because they've had some easy opponents. They're Jekyll and Hyde, not nothing too much to write home about this year as well. Kind of similar to the last couple of years. So it would not shock me at all if Louisville rose to the occasion and got this done. I was with you. I thought the number was low. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's one that you should definitely consider and definitely pump the brakes if you're thinking Syracuse here.
No, I agree. We were on a 2-12 team last night. We took a swing with Lafayette, who was 2-12 versus 7-7 Army team, and Lafayette closed -1. Army couldn't miss in the first half. I think they scored almost 50, and they boxed away at them. But again, I'm not telling you to run to the window with Louisville. I'm just telling you to be careful with Syracuse. That's all.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Kansas and Texas Tech was maybe one of the bigger games of the night. Maybe the biggest game of the night, unless I'm thinking blanking on something else. But Kansas struggles with Oklahoma State the other day. If anyone wasn't paying attention with all the football going on, totally understandable. 10.5-point favorites. They only win by 2. They were that game was in jeopardy for a large part of it there. But Kansas 12-1, obviously still, I think the number 3 team in the country could be in line to be the number 1 team in the country if they get through this week unscathed. But they get a Texas Tech team. They go to a Texas Tech team as a very short favorite, 1.5. Total 141, 141.5. Well, the first thing, these Big 12 totals this year, unlike the last couple of years, are just not the same defense across the board. So last year, if I saw this total, I would have been swinging for the fences on the over. Still, does this one still feel a little high? Maybe it is a statement to the over, or do you think that's spot on the way kind of adjusted to the way Big 12 play has been?
Ken Palm's got it 70-68. So they got it right on. My number was 138.5 and 3.5. And this is one of the games I was looking at. Now, again, I try to stay away from a lot of these games. They're the marquee games, which either side could win. But I try to tell everyone here that wants to listen, you got to trust and respect the opening number. The opening number was Kansas 3.5. So I'll ask you the question. Kansas minus 3.5. There's only one way this number can go, and that is Texas Tech. Right. Everyone's going to come say, you're going to give me Texas Tech at home getting 3.5? Well, now it's down to 1. And you go on social media, the whole world's on Texas Tech. It's the public trendy dog play of the day.
Yeah.
The value here is Kansas. Now, again, do I go to the window and I take Kansas money line here? Let me see what we're at right now. Kansas. They opened up minus 140. They're 125 at the circle. You can get them as low as 120. Let me bring up the resumes here. Texas Tech 31 on Ken Palm. Currently 10-3. Lost to Creighton on a neutral court. Lost to Ohio State on a neutral court, and just lost on the road to a very, very good TCU team. Kansas 12-1. Their only loss on a neutral court to Tennessee. It's tough to go against Texas Tech at home. I get that part. But the play here is just to go play Kansas money line, set it and forget it, in my eyes.
No, I'm not against you. I've had a lot of love for Texas Tech up until this point, whether it was Chris Beard or last year, some of the residuals and what they had last year. But and I don't think they're they're a good team. They are a good team still. But I don't know. I don't get the same type of extra gear that they've had in the past. That's kind of keeping me away from this one here. And with Kansas having if Kansas had won by 20 or 30 over Oklahoma State and had a nothing crazy to look forward to, then maybe I'd be in on Texas Tech. But they kind of had their scare the other day. Probably should have lost. And now they're probably not going to be taking a road trip to Texas Tech lightly. So I'm not against you by any means. I'm keeping my money on this one. I'm definitely tuning into this one. And the Big 12 unders a couple of years ago used to be one of my favorite plays to make. These would be almost every game in the 120s, low 130s, and now we're starting to see it climb back up in the 140s. So. Interesting swings there. Another Big 12 game, Kansas State and Texas Tech. The Chris Beard stuff still trying to be flattened out there, but Texas is still taking care of business, at least winning for the most part here. They've played, they just had a win over the weekend, 1-point win over Oklahoma. That was a really good game, actually. I was on, that was one of my winners on Saturday, was Oklahoma and the points there, which by the way, was an absolute gift. Buzzer beater, a backdoor buzzer beater. Otherwise, I think I was pushing that one out. So that was a one to thank your lucky stars on if you had Oklahoma, and you're cursing if you had Texas there, obviously. But a 12-1 Kansas State team that remains unranked per the AP. Just had a nice win against West Virginia. That's probably, I think I was going through it, and that's I think their biggest win of the season. They really have not played anybody here. I guess LSU would be the other one. They won by 2, but probably at the same level. Same with Wichita State, I guess. So I don't know what to make of this one. 9-point spot here for -9 for Texas here. I'm staying away from this one with a 12-1 team with K-State, but I'm kind of leaning toward Texas a little bit at home in this one.
Yeah, K-State, 45th in Ken Palm, a 1 loss, and that was at Butler. There they lost by 12. Then they beat Wichita State, Abilene Christian, Incarnate Word, Nebraska, Radford, and West Virginia. So I'll give them credit on the Nebraska and West Virginia there. Texas, 1 loss in OT on a neutral court to your Illini. Then they come back with Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Rice, Stanford, Louisiana, Texas A&M, Commerce, and Oklahoma. So I really only can give them a check mark to Oklahoma. I love this Texas team. The Chris Beard situation, I guess the girl now has retracted her statement and basically has said that she was at fault for this and doesn't want any charges or whatever towards Chris. Meanwhile, you would probably say Chris has basically said, hey, you know what? My livelihood and my contract and all that money that we were supposed to be making is now being held up by this. So I don't know what's going to happen there.
I don't know either.
I think the number's pretty spot on. I think Texas gets it done. Would I be surprised if K-State covered? I wouldn't, but slight lean to them winning by double digits. How's that?
Yeah. I think if we're for me with the 12-1 team, I would respect it more if it was closer to 5. Honestly, the fact that it's up close to double digits, like I said, a lot of people love playing these underdogs in these Big 12 games because so many of these underdogs have had success in a lot of these matchups. But going to Texas, especially now that that's kind of in the rear view a little bit, obviously he's not back, but the students and watching this team win games, I have to imagine the atmosphere is going to be fantastic there in Texas tonight as well. So I'm leaning towards Texas winning by double digits in that one. I think only one other Big Ten game, Minnesota, Wisconsin. 12.5, Wisconsin by 12.5, 123.5. Is that low enough to make you interested in the under in that one, Minnesota, Wisconsin?
It's a Wisconsin, both numbers. I had it at
Yeah.
14 and 123. The public's only got one way to go there, and they're taking Minnesota with the 12 because a lot of people see a low under over and they flock to the plus
Yeah.
12, saying, well, if it's going to be a low scoring game, I'm going to gravitate towards the 12. This is actually a Wisconsin. Again, we read the market, we read the numbers. This looks to me as a Wisconsin 15, 17, 18-point win, and comically probably goes under. How's that sound?
No, I'm 100% with you. I've been waiting for some of these low totals, and this one kind of indicated that Wisconsin might even hold them under 50 points or something like that, for that matter. So I lean towards the Wisconsin spread as well. I almost like the under better in this one, in case it's a 60 to 50 type game or something like that. It wouldn't surprise me at all, and it stays under, and maybe, but I still absolutely lean towards Wisconsin and the 12.5 and the under as well. So I like that one. That is the only other Big Ten game. Few other power conference games, but we're coming up past an hour. Any other games that you would like to mention and chat about here?
Yes. Going back to Minnesota, Wisconsin, Ken Palm has it 68-53. So again, I can see Wisconsin in the high 60s, maybe even low 70s. I think Minnesota is, with Ken Palm at 53, I think if anything, 50, 51, 52, I see them more likely in the high 40s than I do get into the low 50s there. So anyone interested in Wisconsin and an under, a Minnesota team total under, whatever, I think it's definitely a go number for the Badgers today there. Two games I'm going to bring up. One, just because when you look at it outside and then dive in, I think Vegas is doing exactly what they want here. LSU and Kentucky. This Kentucky team some days just can't throw it into the ocean. This is supposed to be one of its better teams, just not gelling right now. A team here, let me pull up their resume. Ken Palm still got them at 14. They have 4 losses: Michigan State, Gonzaga, UCLA. So respect all 3 of those losses. A Missouri team that we talked about. We had Missouri there. They beat them by 14. They bounced back with a 23-point win against Louisville. In comes LSU at 75, 12-1, guys, 12-1. And they're only lost to K-State. They just beat Arkansas by 3, which is a great win on their part. But my overnight number was 11 with a 138, still 11 with a 137. I was born at night, not last night. Again, LSU, another one of those public trendy dogs. I think, I hate to say it, but I think this is definitely a Kentucky go number, and I hate to lay that big of a number. By the hook, maybe if you want it down to 10.5, there is 10.5s in a few spots. I think Kentucky rolls tonight.
Yeah, and public book, FanDuel even climbing it to 11.5, I think, despite nice public buy-in to LSU there. So I like it. A 12-1. I've talked about a lot of these, whether it's 12-1, 1-12, and these types of big numbers like this that make you open your eyes. It's not it's a mermaid mirage. The 12-1 LSU Tigers at 10 points. It's probably going to bite you in the ass. So I'm with you on this one for sure. I like Kentucky, and like you said, they just haven't gelled yet. Yeah, we've seen them a few times with Calipari. Have these teams that kind of go through the motions a little bit, and then at some point these talented teams just show up and flex their muscles a little bit, and I could absolutely see it being tonight. So I'm with you for sure on this one.
And I'm going to guarantee you this, people. Go to your books and take a look at some Kentucky futures, okay? Because you're going to be sitting there in March, right before the conference tournament, and then these guys are going to be the talk of the SEC, and everyone's going to say, man, why didn't I buy in? You need to buy now, because if this team gets into form, they're going to be a pain in the ass come March. So that was that game. And the last game, this is the late night special. And I think someone must have overheard a phone call, because before I talk about it, the Circa just moved it from 4 to 3.5. New Mexico at Fresno State. Now, anyone that hasn't seen or heard about the Lobos this year, this team is undefeated. And let me bring them up right now so I can tell you. 57th in Ken Palm versus 143 Fresno State. The Lobos are 14-0, and they're just coming off a 1-point win at Wyoming. They beat Colorado State prior to that by 19. They beat an Iona team, which people say, well, that's not much. Iona's pretty damn good this year, and they beat them by 8. And oh, by the way, they beat the Dons by 3 on a neutral court. Now, they're 4-point favorites against this Fresno State team, who's right now 143 on Ken Palm and 5-8. I said that right. Not 8-5.
I don't know. No.
They're 5-8. You all listening here, this is your ECSI VIP freebie. You go run to the window, you buy the hook, you take your Fresno State plus 4.5, and then we go over here to the money line, and we see that you can get them right now as high as plus 170. There are some plus 160s and 165s. But our friend Jeffrey Benson, who caught a phone call of mine already, only has them plus 150. Fresno State shocks the world and gives New Mexico their first loss tonight. That is
I like it.
Okay.
I like it. The nightcap. No, I mean another one. 14-0, 13-1 doesn't matter. 5-8, and it's this close here. So, no, some good Mountain. The Mountain West has been good, and it's been a lot of close games. So. I can definitely get with this one as well, my friend. My eyes might have glossed past this one as far as looking at these Mountain West games, but you have sold me 110% on this one, so I do like it. One more actually, Virginia and Pitt, 6-point spread here. Does that one feel a little low, or is that with the low total on the road at Pitt? Pitt, playing pretty well for the most part here. Is that one spot on, or? Is that a low number there?
Well, my overnight numbers on that game, I had a 4.5 with a 131. So we talked about Virginia and low totals. You got the Wisconsin Go number today with the low total. Yeah. The actual number here was 131. It's down to 127. At Circa, it's 126.5. I would even suggest buying the hook, taking it to 126. I would lean over there. The 4.5 has now got pushed to 6 on the game, which to me is the public. I lean Pittsburgh and I lean over here. Virginia 11th in KenPom, Pittsburgh 66. So I pull up Virginia's resume. KenPom's got it 67, 64. They got it at that 131 number, by the way. 2 losses to Virginia, Houston, which is probably one of the best teams in the country, and Miami, who's had a great start. They bounced back and beat Albany and Georgia Tech. Pitt on the same side, 4 losses. They started 1-0, then they lose to West Virginia, Michigan, and VCU. As the season's progressed, Michigan and VCU right there.
Yeah.
Then they rattle off 1, 2, 3, 5 in a row. They beat a Northwestern team by 30, 29 to be exact. They beat a scrappy NC State team by 8. They lose to Vandy, who's Jekyll and Hyde. Come back with Sacred Heart, North Florida, Syracuse. Here's the only downside. They're coming off the UNC win by 2.
Yep.
So now they got Virginia. So can they take that momentum of beating them on the 30th, get through the New Year's? Is Virginia – this is that spot when you go against Virginia and your first flash is 13-2 Virginia. You ain't coming back.
No,
you're not coming back from a 13-2. My eyes say Pitt. I tell you what, I'll go on record here and say I'm going to go over the 126 instead of diving in and trying to get the double whammy and take Pitt and the money line. I'll go over 126.
I like it. No, I was torn on that one. I didn't have any strong thoughts. Just interested, what you were thinking on that one. I like what you're putting down there. I don't think there's anything else crazy unless you've got some Mac thoughts or anything like that. But I think we got most of the big games tonight.
No, I think we covered the board real well. My overnight number on the MAC game of the night, Buffalo and Ohio, I had Buffalo with a 154.5. I'm seeing as high as 157. It's flipped now to Ohio -1. Again, guys, this is not that good Buffalo team of a few years ago. No. Buffalo at 192, Ohio at 154. Ken Palm has it 78-77, Buffalo. 6-7 right now. They lost to Michigan State on December 30th. They beat SUNY Canton, which is nothing. Then they lost to Tulane in West Virginia. So not a good feel for this Buffalo team. An Ohio team that's 1-3-0, that is 8-5. Listen, if you're a MAC guy, it's a must-win for Buffalo. So if you want to go grab the 1.5, I get it. Ohio slowly rounding into form. Their 5 losses to Belmont, Detroit Mercy, Michigan, Marshall, and the Florida team. I can see the sense of urgency by Buffalo. Just remember, it's not that same Buffalo team from the last few years.
Yeah, no, that's really what would have kept me out of that one. But I agree with you as far as leaning, thinking this could be a bout of urgency for Buffalo. But, yeah, I'll stay away from it there for sure.
Closing thoughts, sir.
Closing thoughts. I guess, I keep Hamlin in your prayers, obviously, as far as that is concerned. And obviously we hope we get some good news and can move forward here with the next week or so of NFL football. But, obviously nothing's out of the question. So, definitely going to tread lightly on anything as far as speculation there. So prayers up there. And, hopefully, obviously if you want to talk to someone or whether you played football and realize, it hits close to home to you, you just need to talk to someone. Obviously, feel free to talk to anyone, whether that's, your loved ones or, you need to reach out to anyone. Obviously, Jeff and I always talk. Our DMs are always open. So, let's navigate through the rest of the week. Hopefully get some good news and, obviously move forward as best we can. And, whether it's good news or bad news, hopefully we can move forward here into the rest of the week and, take care of what we can as far as you and I with the rest of the sports world as we did today. So pleasure to be here as always, my friend. But obviously, got to tread lightly on where we can. But, got to move forward where we can. So pleasure to be here, like I said, and, we'll move forward as best we can.
I'm looking for it right now. Give me 1 second here. I really got to thank you here because it was a hell of a show. And you came right back and said, basically it's been one of those days. And last night I sat in the office chair and it felt like a truck ran me over. And I was just like, holy shit. And wife's trying to talk to me. And I'm just like, Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. I'm really focused here. This gentleman, to say this, he basically died on the field.
Yeah.
And here's the paramedics trying to bring him back, which they did. Now he's in ICU. And now that's all we can do is pray. I was looking on my Twitter, on my timeline at EC Sports Invest. I had retweeted his toy fund that he had going on. It was at $2,500. That was his goal. And I think before last night, he was at around $1,700. Well, as of this afternoon, he was over $3 million. So if you can go onto my timeline or find it anywhere else on Twitter, I don't care if it's $1, it's $5, $10, everything helps. This guy's fighting for his life out there. And he played in the NFL, but at the end of the day, most people say, what is it? It's entertainment, whether it's an office pool, whether it's fantasy football, or you're in our lanes and you wager on these. There's a guy fighting for his life here. So this show here today, Riley, I did a couple shows prior. We treaded lightly, but that last 45 minutes breaking down the college hoops has kind of got me back into this is what we do here. And again, I am not saying I'm not focused on DeMar and what's going on, but it was able to at least to break down to what my eye sees, what your eye sees, and what tonight brings forth.
Yeah, and as far as if anyone's not trying to hear any NFL talk, I totally understand that. But if anyone, as far as moving on with the other sports to try and take people's mind off of it, I think was a fantastic mode, and it like you said, it did for me. As far as the closing thoughts, it kind of was kind of jarred me back into reality as far as remembering that. So. If you don't want to hear that type of content and you don't want to, try and take your mind off of it, I totally understand. You're more power to you. You're more than willing, more than able to talk about whatever you want to talk about or keep out, any other noise. But, respect to anyone that's trying to keep anyone's mind off of it and move forward. So I'm glad that we were able to do that here this afternoon.
Tomorrow, 9:15 a.m. Grab your coffee, Beating the Book, and Rob. We will be there. 1 o'clock, we will have Andrew from McGinnis Picks and Wager Talk. Around 4:30, will bring us back for the closing bell. Thursday, 2:30, Dan Alexander at Newbie Talks. I will have the bet exchange in between there, and at 9 p.m., myself and Brady will be here. Maybe Dave Sharapan. I don't know. I have to reach out to him with the Sportsbook Confessions. Obviously, you around 4:30. Again, obviously, if you are available.
Yeah,
for the closing bell. Friday, 9:15 a.m., Rob will be back from Beating the Bookie. We'll figure out what time's best for you for the Big Ten review. If you want to do a midday market report in the afternoon on Friday, we can do that / closing bell. At 7 p.m., I will be with Anthony Pepe in his compound, Sports Map Radio, Die Hard Radio. I will be co-hosting. This could be something that we will be doing throughout the winter and spring, and potentially, who knows, do a few solo shots there as well. So big things happening here. We are 28 days from Massachusetts going live at the Encore, the first official sports wagering. And don't worry, guys, I will not be running up there to go place any bets. Listen, when I go to Vegas, I have some fun out there. We bring 3 to 5 dimes. We'll bet 3, 4, 500 a game. That's the fun time. Yeah. Here, it's just a daily grind. We try to map out what we did. We won 5 out of 6 weeks to end the year, and now we start this week 0-2, so we got some work to do. But just trying to get back on the horse. There's a lot of games tonight. I didn't talk about hockey yet. There's a handful of games. I am trying to find a team total. I'm going to close with this because someone asked me this. Jeff, why do you focus on these team totals? Last night was a perfect example. We lost.
Yeah. We
had the Avs team total over 3.5 plus 110. Do you know what the Avs money line closed last night at? They were minus 160.
Yeah.
Minus 160. Okay. And Vegas won the game. Okay. Yeah. So I'd rather be sitting with a 3.5 team total over plus 110 than an Avs minus 160 nut. That's why we do what we do. We take the even money loss. We had them plus 110, so we lose 1 unit, whatever it is, $25, $50, $100 versus minus 160. And I'm going to close with this here, guys. There's a gentleman here, I won't give out his name, that watches our show that's been with us on the VIP side now for 2 or 3 months. When I sent out the action parlay on Sunday, we had already netted plus 4.6 units for the week.
Wow.
So we're scratching an itch. We had 2 parlays. I says, if you're 2-0 on these parlays, take the profit, go hedge. We already were plus 4.6 units. And the hedge, the 2 parlays were paying 4.5 units and 5.5 units. So go get your free money.
Yeah.
If you walked out your apartment, you walked out your house, and there was $100 bill lying on the doorstep, would you bend down and pick it up?
I would, yes.
Okay. So people don't understand when you're 2-0 and you have an opportunity for free money, go grab it.
Yeah.
The bookie doesn't want to because they want to see you lose so you don't hit the parlay. When you have a chance to win half that money, go grab it. It's like bending down and picking up the $100 bill. Are you going to go bend down and pick it up? Everyone is. No, I'm just going to let the wind blow and I'm going to let my next door neighbor get it.
Right.
So we have guys here on the VIPs that are betting 25 a game. I have guys that bet 250 a game. I got guys that bet 2,500 a game. We're all equal. We all wear our pants the same way. We all pull them up the same way. I don't care if it's $25, 250 or 2,500. Money is goddamn money.
Right. And to piggyback real quick, as far as some of these public books offer you the cash out options, if you have the time, do the math as far as what a hedge would be. Chances are 99% of the time, if they're giving you a cash out option and there's one leg left or something like that on the parlay, you probably have a better profitability, or probably have a chance of being more profitable by actually just hedging and betting the other sides as opposed to taking whatever that cash out option is. But I can understand, and sometimes you don't have the time. Maybe it's a live game or something like that, and it's flying all over the place. And in your head, you think it's close enough. And I've taken a cash out or two every once in a while, but 90% of the time, hedging is more profitable than just taking whatever the cash out they give you. Because go figure, they want you to take the cash out option there.
And the funny thing is, we had over 6.5 in the Senator Sabres game, and there was a goal in the first 47 seconds. So that under over of 6.5 probably shot to 7.5 in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So again, a lot of this is time consuming. I know a lot of people that will wait, try to get into an in-game scenario. I know a lot of people that will wait till halftime of a football game. Okay, the longer you wait, sometimes the worse off you're going to be. I always tell the story of teams that are favored by 7. A lot of people will sit and wait, hope the other team gets up 7-0, and then they can then dive in and get them at a 1.5, 2 points.
Yeah.
So there's a million ways to skin the cat, but at the end of the day, guys, profit is profit. And the longer you stick and stay with the ECSI VIPs, the longer you stick and stay and turn your notifications on when me and Riley come on for a midday market report, a closing bell, when Scotty's back and he's available. We're just here to educate. We save the entertainment for the clowns on that 4-letter word, the clowns of the 3-letter word, the shit bags named Skip Bayless. And I said it, man, what a piece of shit he is. And I said it again. I get the tweets, I get the clickbaits, but sometimes you just overstep your bounds. And how he is still paid, how he's still with these clowns, blocked, deleted. I don't care. If he was on fire, I wouldn't piss on him right now. And that's how pissed off I am. And he just took enough time of our show. So I'll end with that. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one and only Riley Magnuson at Riley_Madison, the one. We wish everyone a blessed day. We thank you for tuning in. We thank you guys for being here day by day. Without you, there's no ECSI. Any questions, comments, concerns, reach out to us. Have some fun. If you need someone to talk to vent, we're always here. We got a 24/7 open door policy, and we'll stick with it. We will see you bright and early tomorrow morning, 9:15 a.m. with Rob at Beating the Book. We'll see you soon.